Okay, we are live, right?
Yeah,
Does anybody want to check it? I'm pretty sure we are though.
you should play the song now.
Oh yeah, the song.
Oh, come on.
Hey, let's take a minute.
All that. Oh my God.
Wonderful, wonderful.
That was awesome. All right. Hey, welcome to the House of Static.
Show of Static. Like I said last
All right. That was the theme song. And this is the House of Static. How you doing? We're live, obviously. And I'm going to stop sharing that.
That's a hot beat.
Might I
All right.
Bro, I love it when we fuck shit up every time because then
that's fortunate because we do it.
Because it means we do it on purpose. Obviously, the fans can't be thinking we're idiots all the time, except
that would be ridiculous to think that we're idiots all the time.
That would never happen. Okay, yeah, exactly. Anyways, everybody, welcome to the House of Static. I am the House and he is the Static. This is the House of Static. And this week we have a guest, and it's a girl. Oh boy.
Would you like I identify as female.
Yeah, not it. And she is Alexandria.
Experience. That's okay.
Right.
So
like Alexandria Tava, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Say hello, Alexandra.
Hi, all the boys. I mean, everyone, because we are all included. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, usually we have me tell how we know the guest or
Bob. Well, why don't we, before we get too far into that, let's first say introduce things. So this is Kilo House in Los Angeles.
I already did that, but that's okay.
Yeah, you said your name, but I'm saying that we're cross-continental here. So I'm in upstate New York as always, and our guest Alexandria Tava is in the city. Where in the city are you, Alexandra?
Don't shoot me. Please, because I technically have the zip code of New Jersey. I know everyone hates it, but
I love Jersey. I'm from Jersey. I was born in Jersey.
Oh, what part?
I'm probably very close to where you live. I was born in Englewood, right over the GWB there.
So literally right outside of my window is Lincoln Tunnel. I live in Weehawken, right next to Hoboken, New Jersey. Look outside my window, you see Manhattan. So,
I know Hoboken is fantastic. I was just in Hoboken, I don't know, about a month ago. And awesome. I go to the city, it's not too far. I live up by Albany, but so I go down for shows and baseball games and just go to hang out in the city,
Nice.
Like I'll be down there next month. A friend of mine who's a jazz pianist she'll be playing down there. So Charo Suri's her name, and she'll be playing it's at Carnegie Hall. It's like a little one of those one of the smaller Carnegie Hall's got Carnegie Hall, and then there's like smaller halls within the building.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
nice.
Charo Suri, her name is. She's a jazz, like an Indian jazz pianist. Brilliant, really awesome.
Okay. Well, now we're friends, so now
there you go.
Have to meet up. I mean, then we're gonna have to fly Kilo over here.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm already going there, so there we go.
Get in the aeroplane. I have to be like cripplified into the airplane.
Can we just get a helicopter?
I'm pretty sure they
get into a helicopter, but
well, I'm pretty sure they allow people in wheelchairs to get on.
I don't think they do. Last time they were like, "Sorry, we don't like your kind," and I was
but that must have been in Oklahoma.
Good job, Bob.
That was a good one.
You got me. But now we should have her introduce how we know her.
There you go. Yeah, that's you guys.
About her music and such, and not how I am a band from Aeroplanes.
Or where I go in New Jersey. Right. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. You don't go to New Jersey for anything, Bob. Nothing at all.
I love it. Anyway, so yes, Alexandra, why don't you tell us, how do you know this guy?
Oh, it's a good story.
All right.
I am stepping into the role of being a producer. Been a certified sound practitioner for 10 years, and I've been a musician my whole life, but I'm stepping into the role of being a producer. So I wanted to do my due diligence and to do my research online.
Can I only want to interrupt for a moment because I want to say I'm not going to interrupt now, but I am going to have to ask you what a certified sound engineer?
Well,
practitioner.
Yeah, sound healer.
Send healer. Oh, okay. I get it now. All right. So continue with the Kilo story. I'm sorry.
So I'm researching online and I'm looking up 10 music producers to know for 2023, 2024. And Kilo is on it. So
Wow.
I found him on Instagram and I resonated with his vibe, even though I could tell it was very hidden, which most music producers who are very talented don't lay it out there. They keep things hidden. And then I'm going to pass the story to you. So you tell the rest.
I have to tell the rest of them. Okay, fair enough.
Fair enough. There you go. It's your turn. Go.
I saw that Heard Things said something like choose love music. Right. Am I right? Am I telling you right? And then I thought that was a very cool name. So I was like, oh, I like your name of your like music. I think I said of your label is how I said it. And then I got back this very generic, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah message. And I was like, oh, good. I'm going to talk to a robot now. But then I was like, well, I wonder, how did you get that name or something? I don't remember, something like that. And then it was another generic message. And I was like, well, that's good. Stay up or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, like a week or two later, she had messaged me like about how she became like a musician. And I was like, oh, so this robot is really intelligent or it's not a robot.
There you
go. Like, conversation. And now we're here.
Well, there you go.
Right. Didn't stop talking.
Yeah.
But no, that's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened. Yeah. So is there any more to add to that story that I forgot?
No, that's exactly how it went.
Okay.
And the thing is I thought that you might have not been who you were. So, because I don't take anything serious on social media. No. I don't think any of us really do.
Right. Yeah.
No, smart people do.
Yeah, right.
People on Catfish. I love that show. If they're watching, I want to be on your show. Tried to get Catfish for years. It didn't happen.
Sorry, I disappointed you.
What did you say? You tried to be a catfish?
No, I could be. Anyone can do that, man. No, I've tried to get Catfish. I've done it all.
You tried to get catfish?
I want to meet Neve from.
Wants to be catfished.
I want to be on their TV show. I got to be like, I'm sad. I love this person. But no, it never happened.
Find a catfish for you, like from Chinatown.
I'm from Oklahoma. There's lots of catfishes there.
There you go. Right on.
They stick their hands in the mouth and pull them out of the water. That's fucking weird. Anyway, so
how did you start talking about catfish? Oh, because that's so you guys didn't know if you were real people. No, and then you finally realize you are. Yeah.
Nobody on social media should take anybody else seriously. And if you're doing that, you guys, just stop.
Or in the real world, for that matter.
Yeah. Is there a difference? Dun, dun, dun.
No. Yeah, there you go. I have a question. I have a number of questions about this story. If you're both done telling it, then I have some questions about it. So one. Yeah, well, where was this list of Kilo being one of the greatest like producers to work with? I love that's awesome. You know?
I thought Bob made the list. I thought Bob put me
I did not.
I was like, oh no, a list you put me on.
I would have to go back into my search and pull it up because I was just in that zone where I was just researching, I was reading, I was seeing how other people set up their home studios, what gear, I'm an Ableton and a Native Instruments gal. And then I have a bunch of my sound healing stuff. And because I'm merging the two worlds, there's not a lot of information out there for that. So I just am trying to, and I thought that maybe like younger, hipper music producers would have different techniques on how to make a customized home studio.
Yeah.
I do. But I can get that list for you. I'll just have to.
It doesn't really matter. I really just thought it was cool.
He's just giving me a hard time.
Yeah, no, I'm not even giving you a hard time. What I really was saying is that it doesn't matter. The specifics of the list doesn't really matter. I just thought it was really cool that he showed up. Because I agree with the fact. Obviously, I work with Kilo every single day, so yes, I agree. He is a guy to work with, and I just think it's fantastic that somebody else recognized it. That's all. That's why I was not making fun of you, Kilo.
And I will add to that the list, it was 10 people And I don't think that there was one female on there.
Aha, there you go.
That is a
That's-
song.
There you go. That's something.
I believe that, honestly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and when I went to a lot of the other people's pages, some of them just really looked fabricated. So, you know, it's like anyone can make them seem, you know, a star, but
Right.
it's the energy behind it. And I just felt like there was so much I didn't know about you.
Here
And
he
then
is.
when I Googled your name, I'm like, there's something there and I just need to know.
That's awesome.
Well, now you do know.
Yeah, you
because-
do. Yeah. I could do. What do you want to know? I could tell you. I talk to the guy every day.
Oh, yeah. It's fun. I want to watch where this goes. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
right.
watch this. Go ahead, ask Bob whatever you want to know.
Yeah.
Anything.
Well, okay. So how did you two meet?
Okay, oh, that's fair. Right on. All right.
Right.
So technically, you know, like in the most literal sense, Kilo and I have never actually met. We've never met in person.
Right.
We will be probably. We've kind of loosely discussed. I'll be going out to LA probably this winter sometime, so we'll do that. But but we met at this point. It was probably almost 2 years ago. Where because I have a music blog that I write, and I wrote about Kilo on my blog a couple of years ago, and wrote about some EP that he had put out or whatever, and then I just kind of got I research whenever I write about somebody, like dig in, like it's I kind of become like a stalker for an hour, you know what I mean, and I dig in, just find everything I can about them, and just so I can. And Kilo is a very interesting dude, and then he had this video on the school that he went to, Icon Collective, had a video of him, an interview with him, and it was just fantastic. I was like, well, this guy is. I remember I showed my girlfriend. I was like, this dude is awesome, and I want to work with him. And that was pretty much it. And I started talking to him pretty soon after that, and there you go. And almost 2 years later, we own a record label together, and we do this silliness, and we make new music every day. We're making music. It's fantastic.
I have one of them open on the Ableton right now.
There you go. And one of the things you just said, Alexandria, it was it really kind of caught my ear, because you're 100% right, because I mean, I made a joke before we were, not a joke, it's just a fact, but before we went live here, I was talking about how old I am. So I'm 52 years old, and I mean, and I've been making music for about 30 years now, a little bit better than that. And when I started working with Kilo, that was the thing, like, because so I've been I don't just play. I mean, I've been like producing my own music for that whole time. I mean, I've been recording my own stuff since on 4-tracks, like cassette 4-tracks. And then, you know what I mean? I've been doing it for a long time. And and I was still up until 2 years ago. I was producing my own stuff, was mixing and mastering it and everything myself. And when Kilo and I got to be friends is when, and I've told this story, some version of the story a few times on the show here, but nobody, they probably don't remember anyway.
Nobody fucking cares. Tell it
Nobody
again.
cares. I'll just tell it anyway.
I need to hear it. So.
Yeah. You can. So anyway, as we got to be friends, Kilo and I just kind of, we'd chat on the phone or whatever, and email and shit like that. And I was like, he didn't even know I was a musician, because I was just a writer to him. I was writing about his stuff,
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, I play music too. And then I showed him my SoundCloud, and, he realized when I said I have music too, he realized I had 500 songs. Yeah, like 30 years of music.
Music.
I got a lot of songs. So, so we were like listening to him together on like on the phone or something, and listened to him on SoundCloud. And he was like, that one, I want to do that. I want to mix that one. So he did. And then I ended up releasing it. It was just a little demo that I had on my SoundCloud. I wasn't even really planning on putting it out. It was just a funky little tune. Cool. And then I did after he mixed it, and I got a record deal with the Germans after that, and the rest is history. So
with the Germans, I think you skipped over the best part of it. The part where you were like, oh, like I'm talking to this label because of the song, but it never worked out for me. And I said to you, why don't you just not think that and see what happens? Yeah.
Well, what's interesting too, and the reason I got into that the my Kilo story anyway, right, is because one of the things you had said, Alexandria, is that you had said that a young producer might have new, fresh ideas and everything like that, and that really was it, right? Like I was making, because I'm a good engineer. I record my own tracks and they sound good. And it was, but I can mix well too. But mastering is always been voodoo to me, and what mastering used to be is even evolved into, like, basically there's like mixing and then mixing part 2 we call mastering, you know what I mean? Like back in the day, you would mix everything down to a 2-track and you would give that to the mastering engineer, and he would just kind of basically put EQ and compression and some limiters and shit and just kind of warm it up and span it out. That's what they did. Now mix, when I started working with Kilo, I realized, like, okay, stems, really, that's a new thing, because we didn't have that, because we didn't even tracks weren't even digital. You know what I mean? Like when we were in studios, in analog studio, tracks weren't digital. You recorded it and you mixed it down, and then you get here's a 2-track, here's a 2-inch tape, big reel of a 2-track mix of our and then you give that to the mastering studio. So it's a completely different world. So now, and I always worked, even when I've been working digitally for, better than 20 years, but I just did it by myself. So when I started working with him, he's like, send me the stems. I was like, sure, stems. Okay. What are you talking about? Basically,
also mix it. That is,
they're like little sub mixes. You know what I mean? So like I might have 5 guitar tracks. I'll mix it down to do like 1 stereo track stem and then give it to him, So and I learned like how people are doing these things in 2022, or 2020 at the time. And so you're right. And then we've just kind of both evolved ever since then. Our sound is something neither one of us did before. It's awesome.
I feel like she's interviewing us this time.
Yeah, I know, right?
Sorry.
So yes, no, that's cool. But I did have a question though, about your healing work, right? Your music healing. I want to hear about that. What is that? What are you doing? What do you do with this?
So us musicians, I think, naturally know that sound heals.
Sure.
We're always gravitated to an instrument, a concert, playing an album when we have a bad day, a breakup, or even like a good day, and you just want to play a playlist and dance around, right? So we naturally know it, but through growing up in the music industry and losing a lot of people to overdose, suicide, having my own traumas as a female in the industry, I realized that traditional therapy wasn't always going to work. And I knew that having uncultivated just sound, just going to a concert wasn't always going to work either, because I wanted more. It's like you leave that concert and there's this high and you're like, what do? I still feel like shit. So I decided to find like a holistic healer in the city, but I didn't want to just go to anyone. I wanted someone who had credentials. So she's been teaching at Columbia, the Mind Body Institute, for 30 years. She's very reputable. And I emailed her one day. And long story short, she was very expensive and I couldn't afford it, but I am a tech girl and I know how to build webs, do web stuff. And, we bartered, and she's like, you're the youngest student I have here. You're either going to sink or swim. And she's like, I'm really not going to teach you anything. And we had a conversation, Hilo and I had a conversation earlier. And what did you say? You said like gurus and teachers really, they don't do anything for you.
Right. No, like gurus are only there to tell you, like, you have permission to know what you already know that you know.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So this woman she does not specialize in sound. Okay.
Right.
But from me knowing her, I then just kept on being drawn, just like what you probably did with, 8-tracks and albums and who mixed this. It's like this instrument, this instrument, this instrument. And I just fell in love with, Tibetan gongs and brass bowls and tuning forks. So.
And I think a Fender Jaguar too, right? On the wall there. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
That's that, like the ripoff of Kurt Cobain's.
Yeah, the Jaguar. That's Kurt Cobain played Jaguar. So anyway, you were just talking about your instruments, and I just wanted to point out the very cool guitar.
Guitars and sound bowls.
Right. Oh, very nice.
So yeah. So I mean, there's so many different directions I could go into it, but I I reached the point where I did what the credentials I had to so that I can also work in mental health. So there's one leg in mental health and helping a lot of youth who go through suicide and depression and eating disorders. And I'll be paired up with another licensed therapist. So I'll do that kind of stuff. And I come from like the rock and roll perspective. I come from their perspective. Like, yes, life sucks, right? And this is why Kilo and I get along. Life sucks, and you got to get up and deal with it.
There you go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, so now do you get into so now I was going to ask of you if it was like about like, you know, certain frequencies cause certain brain waves and that kind of thing, or is it more, you were saying like rock and roll with teenagers stuff, is it like lyrics and like, hey, listen to this Pink Floyd song? I mean, you know, what are you doing?
So I say there's like there's different lenses you can look through, right? If you look through all of this from the musician's lens, then you can talk about it from instrument perspectives. If you go from the practitioner or the healer lens, then you'll talk about it from the frequency perspective. Because when you want to target a certain trauma and achieve a certain outcome, the frequencies will match those different instruments and then how those instruments are being played.
Right. Oh, I get it. Yeah, that's cool.
The frequency that's bothering them, or are you matching a frequency that will make that frequency go away?
That is probably one of the best questions that anyone has ever said.
Well, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that right there.
Congratulations, Keela.
That right there, that question is what the practitioner has to discern.
I see. Okay. Whether a frequency is needed or needs to be removed.
Yes.
Or negated or phased out, or however you do it.
That's the job. That's the job of the person who's being trusted in that moment. Mm-hmm. Which, if you think about it, think about like, who's your favorite guitar player? Like when the audience is there and a guitar player is soloing, they have to discern, like they're just feeling it, they're going it. Okay, fine. Sure. Maybe they're channeling, maybe they're letting it go. But we all know that they're like guiding the audience. It's the same thing. It's just one-on-one versus like a whole bunch of people.
Carlos Santana, I read an interview with one time. He referred to himself as an antenna.
Oh yeah.
He's an antenna on stage. He's pulling this energy in and sharing it with everybody in front of him.
I mean, it's like being a good DJ, right? She was a DJ, and you have seen DJs, Bob. Like being a good DJ is like.
I've seen DJs. I have, yeah. I think there's a picture of one.
I feel like Bob has some DJs.
I was gonna say,
dude, I was making house music when you were in. Let me tell you. No, I'm just kidding. Right?
Okay,
I did make a house song though in the 80s in college. When I was in the 80s, I made a house. It was called Beasties in the House. I made a house beat with my drum machine, and I sampled a bunch of Beastie Boys, and I made this Beasties in the House mix. It was like 1989. It was pretty actually.
We need to bring it back. That be released now.
Somewhere in this closet you can't see, they're in the many boxes of cassettes that I have in there. It's in there, but
19-year-olds in Brooklyn need it.
I agree completely. I think all those kids that are all like, they think they're super cool, they would love that shit, bro.
It was good stuff too. Yeah,
old stuff actually.
I'm gradually bringing it all back. You know that.
Yeah, it's like under the snow bank or
only a snowfall. So what Kilo's talking about, it sounds like we're speaking in code, but
no.
So we make a lot. So the music that Kilo and I make together, right? So we've got his solo stuff, right? And then we work with other artists. We've got King Matt Black that we work with. We've got Christian Cole and Liberty C, Katja Cruz. And so he and I collaborate on all of that, right? And we write it together and everything. But then, like I said, we have our solo stuff too. And sometimes we're on each other's solo stuff. But my solo stuff, that's why I was making a joke about the Germans there. There's a small German label that I put my solo music out on. And what I'm doing with that these days, because I've gotten into all the other genres and instrumental stuff and everything else I'm doing with Kilo, with my static dive stuff, I'm basically I'm resurrecting good songs from my own past that basically have fallen by the wayside.
Fucking song this time, bro.
Yeah. Only a Snowfall is a really good one. And
it's like for an entry.
What's
Good
that?
Songs from my past.
Yeah. Well, I
well-
was thinking about this to actually that one. So basically like I've got released a couple already, and anywhere from like 2 years ago to 30 years ago. You know what I mean? So like we're working on one now, this song Vodka Tonic that I just did like 3 or 4 years ago. But the one I'm releasing next, well, not next is next week, but the one that Kilo's currently mixing is called Only a Snowfall. And that's like this, I wrote it and it was from 1991. It was a little demo tape I made in
You
91.
play it, Bob. I sent it to you earlier today. Unless
You did?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, play. Can you play a little?
Yeah, I could play a little bit.
We
Sure.
love giving away our music on here. It's
Right,
fun.
but it's a real pretty little
Yeah.
little sort of torch song. I was 21 and I was like pining for this girl that unrequited love, so but I wrote this pretty little song, and I always thought it would be a good piano song, but I was a bad piano player forever, my whole life. And then I got better at piano. I mean, I've been playing the piano a lot the last couple of years, and so I figured, hey, I'll give it a try, and it sounded great. So I was right.
Oh, it sounds real great. Dude, I think
Where is the one you sent me, Kilo? Hold on.
I emailed you it earlier today.
All right. Let's see.
Boopy doo boop boop boop.
Doop.
Let's make sure I send it to you.
You sent me something, but I thought you sent your other thing.
Well,
Yours-
no. It's both of them. It's both of them.
Okay. Well, okay. Oh, you sent me one email with both. I got you.
Yeah, like in a
This
zip
is
file.
This is quality TV right here. Well, you guys talk amongst yourselves while I take care of
Excited
it.
for
What
this.
do we talk about, Bob?
I don't know.
Oh, I have a question. Is Bob's live song library, is it all different genres? Are you a songwriter where you write in all different genres, or do you have a sound?
He can definitely write in all
Yeah,
different.
I do a lot of different
I dig
stuff.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so
But the stuff we're putting out on the German label, whatever they're called. It's more of
they're FBP. It's a Fueled by Passion records,
okay.
and
Yeah,
they're a record label in Frankfurt, Germany.
all of the hippy dippy names.
Yeah, exactly. So but yeah, so with my own, like I've always been a singer songwriter guy. I've done that forever and ever and ever since I was a teenager, right? But I'm a guitar player.
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm good at is guitar, right? That's why I'm a good guitar player. Not to toot my own horn too much, but I mean, you gotta know what you know.
Mhm.
So anyway, so I've played in I've done a lot of different music, and I had this band called SHU, SHU. We were a sort of ska / jam band. It was the 90s, so it was like college circuit, Fish fans, like that kind of thing. And we still play. I mean, these are like my best friends, so we've been together for like 30 years. We get together once in a while.
Nice.
But we were pretty big for the regionally in the 90s. Like a lot of people knew us. So we did that, and then my solo stuff is has always been sort of all over the place. A lot of alternative rock, singer songwriter stuff, but like I do a lot of trip hop. I really like trip hop a lot.
Yeah.
So a lot of my instrumental stuff is real down tempo trip hop kind of stuff.
Cool.
And I've been getting more into jazz lately, as I've always listened to a lot of jazz, but I've been writing more jazz lately. And probably because of the piano. As I get better at piano, I get a little jazzier,
And because of King Matt Black. He made you write lots of good jazzy stuff.
Yeah, I love the jazz stuff. But anyway, so that was a very long answer to your short question, which is
That's good. Yeah.
I play a lot of different
I miss
stuff.
90s music though more than anything. I don't know if you can tell I have a 90s look going on, except for this part.
I have
Comments.
I have a tank top and sunglasses. This is my look.
That's LA. LA's.
I don't know that I have any kind of look at all. I probably don't.
It's not cold. So
You
there's-
could be in the yellow card if we want to go in 90s.
Well, now we can't be friends anymore, but that's there you go.
All right. So do you guys want to? I haven't heard
what
this
you're
mix
talking
yet.
about.
So Kilo, this is the mix that Kilo's done of my new
You're
song.
not gonna like all the reverb that's on it yet, but whatever. Who cares?
Okay. All right. Let's see.
Sorry. Sound effects have to happen every now and then.
Sound effect all the time.
Oh, I got this. Okay, hold on. Let me start it over. Oh, yeah.
back down.
I can't hear you.
Cover ground you're walking on. Chill through my spine as you touch my back.
Anyway, so that's how
You hate
But
it.
your vocals really forward, which is good because a lot of
Yes.
people.
No, I don't.
What I said, Bob, is I like to make it too much at first so that then you can restrain me back to where it should be by telling me not as much.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't really want any reverb on it. I mean, I really, very little, very little.
At least I pointed out before you even played the track. Don't worry.
Mhm.
Don't worry. I'll let you. Don't
I know.
worry.
You're the one that told me to play it. And then you told me to play it, and then you tell me it's going to be
would
too much
defend
reverb.
you if
So,
I
you know.
didn't like it, but it's not that you will like the reverb.
No,
This
it's
is how-
not.
I
how
understand. I do that sometimes with people too. I'm all about the vocals with everyone because I'm a vocalist. So it's like I do make them. I'll make an artist do so many trackings of all this stuff, and they're like, I really don't want something like that in this. And like, no. Let me do my job. Just trust me. Let me do more so that you can take it away later. So I get what you're saying, but I also get what you're saying too on the artist end, because you're like, hey, I just want what I want.
No,
I
yeah, and I actually kind of put you on the spot, Bob, on
You
purpose.
did, yeah.
So,
Okay.
no, to show
Okay.
how this works, because we always talk about how we go back and forth.
Mhm.
until we
No, that's
get
fair.
down, but we've never given that example. So I kind of
No, yes. So to your point, we have no problem giving each other open, like input and criticism or whatever else. I would prefer not to have like told you I didn't like it on the air here, but
This is good. But this is honestly, this is actually good. This is authentic. Because I think the reason why I'm so drawn to Gen Z is because, I'm millennial. Whoa. But I like Gen Z way more because it's like they are so exposed. They don't give a fuck. Like this right now, like the fact, like people need to know that it's
I'm not a Gen Zer, just in case that's what we're implying here. I'm not.
You're not. What
pretend.
Are you pretending I am though? Is that what?
Well, wouldn't you? Well, Kilo is 32 years old. So that makes 33. 33. Yes, 33 years old. So makes you what? Millennial? What is that?
Yes.
Yeah, we're both millennials. But I'm just saying in general, the younger demographics are craving content to be exposed. So like what you guys just did is what they're seeking from people who know more information. So you just did something that they're looking for.
Right. No, that is kind of sort of the idea of what we're doing here, right? I mean, that is exactly it. We're trying to show people like, hey, the Kilo is always, this is Kilo could probably tell it better because it is a big goal of yours, Kilo, I think, to connect to younger musicians and everything else, right?
Yeah.
And that's a big part of what we do here. Well, you've always said that. You've always said, you want to show people how to, how these things work.
I want to show people that artists are really people too, so that then they can feel like they can be an artist.
Right. I don't know. And don't get me wrong. The mix, the mix sounds beautiful. It just has a little bit too much reverb. That's all.
Right. And I knew that would probably happen. Don't worry, because I honestly didn't remember what it sounded like when I made you play it, but I was assuming I like a lot of reverb. You don't, so I probably did it wrong.
That's all right, man.
No. But that's how this is how people should work in the music industry, where it's like, oh yeah, I like this, but you didn't do it, so fix it. And it's like, no, really though, because I'm the producer of this track, which is a different word for than EDM producer. It's the rock producer would be the one saying yeah, I need another guitar, man, that kind of thing. And so being the producer, I don't need to have the decision of whether there's too much reverb or not enough. He's the artist, so he decides.
And I mean, that entirely depends too on the artist and the producer. Those relationships change depending on the desires and abilities of the people working. You know what I mean? you and I, in a great, in more often than not are co-producing with one another. You know what I mean? As far as the sort of George Martin producer idea, where you're like, the conceptually producing the product and saying like, I think it should sound like this, and I think it should, that's you and I together. And then the hands-on production, the modern day, like, EDM producer, whatever you want to call it, you're doing that, and that is, I'm probably about the best, separation of the two, I guess,
So, I mean, for instance, like I told him earlier today, I want to put like very faint, like footsteps in the snow in that song because it's about snowfall.
That would be very, yeah.
And we're going to, but that was just me being like, hey, bro, I really think this is a good idea. It wasn't like, hey, we need to do this or this song.
Right.
So, I mean, that's kind of the relationship we have. And I think it's amazing that we finally gotten to show this on air because we talked about it behind the scenes, like, oh yeah, we do this every day, but people have never seen us.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And that song's a good example too, because actually before we got to this mix, I had sent the tracks to Kilo and it didn't sound right. He thought my vocals were off. Yeah, it was like, no, and then I had, there was something wrong with what I had done, and we weren't sure what it was. He thought my vocals were pitchy or something, but it turned out that one string on my acoustic guitar was it was a little high, so I had to redo the guitar track. But
the thing to me that my brain immediately went, your vocal is pitchy, not your guitar isn't in tune.
Right. Well, and we had a big conversation about that earlier today. It's really interesting because you think like, when you're listening to sound, right, and you being a sound scientist, right, you know yeah, but you know what I mean, like so like you got this, like, so a mix, even something simple as that, like that's just it's like a 4-piece, it's a little quartet, right? It's a bass, drums, piano, guitar, and vocal, and one string on the guitar is a little high, and it makes the whole, it doesn't just sound like, if you're listening, especially if you're a guitar player, you listen, you go, oh, like the strings out. But if you're just listening to a song, you just know something's wrong. Like it's like a domino effect. It's like one thing's screwy, and it kind of wavers all the way through the mix, and you don't know what the hell you don't know, and you just kind of have to start muting things and going, what sounds funky,
Right.
That's a lot of what sound healers do with like biorhythms, biofields, and with tuning forks. It depends on what your specialty is and what modalities you like to approach, but what you're talking about is very similar. It's just from a subtle energy, from a subtle energy perspective.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting because it's the interoperability, the interconnection, the relationship of the instruments to one another, the notes to one another, and also the music to the listener. You know what I mean? Like all of it is like, it's a different, and two different people will perceive it differently. Kilo and I heard the song, he heard one thing, I heard another. And we both had to just kind of listen until we figured out what was exactly off, but something was off, and
right.
And it's just, I think it's really interesting, and especially when you get into, you were talking about with sound and the finding the right waves and such like that. And if you it doesn't really matter if it's even sound, it could light, any kind of engineering, electrical engineering, all that. Like they all follow exactly the same laws of physics, and it's remarkable. I mean, like if you get into like phasing and stuff, like what you can do with sound is crazy. Like you could take one sound and throw it out of phase, which basically means, like anybody that doesn't know, like, you got a sine wave goes like this, right? If it's out of phase, it's basically when one goes up, the other one's going down. So they're like that. And if you put this right now, right, and if you put the same sound out of phase, it'll go away. It just disappears.
It's like it makes it not push, because when it's trying to like if you think in the weird brain I have, it's like when the speaker's trying to come back to go back out to make that vibration again, it will literally be coming back out as it's so it's like it freezes. It's like I don't know what to do.
They cancel each other out. It's amazing. And I learned, how I learned that. This is crazy, right? So we're talking about recording and 4 tracks and everything else, right? So phasing, back in the day when you know, doing, and probably still now, the thing is now nobody listens to music in mono anymore, right? But if you had, but if you do like a bad home recording or a good, it could sound great. Like my old cassette recordings from the 80s and the 90s, right? They sound great when you listen to them in stereo. But a couple of songs, if you put them in mono, like the guitar will disappear or the bass will go away or whatever, or it's just got this washy sound. You don't hear anything. And that's phasing. And it's because you're recording in basically rooms that are not built for recording, right? So sound like waves are bouncing off the corners of the walls and all that kind of thing, and bombarding the microphones, you know, and hitting two different microphones with a different phase. So when you put it in mono, it gets all crazy. And it was a hard lesson to learn when I was, you know, 18 and trying to make my you know, Sergeant Pepper. It's crazy.
Some of your old recordings are insane though, bro. Like one of those ones where you slowed it way down.
Yeah.
I would love to hear that stuff.
I did a lot of cool stuff. Yeah.
So fucking cool. You talk about fucking, oh my God, dude, you've manipulated sound with that one thing you tell me. Remember you used an old dirty piano to like do the bass.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, no, I've done a lot of things. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it was always fun back then too. But I listen to some of those recordings from, and I'm not kidding. I mean, like when I was, you know, in high school. I mean, in my room with a little 4-track, you know, doing things, and I did some pretty creative stuff. It's fun to listen to.
Nice.
Proud of my 18-year-old self.
Well, and if you're trying to do music and you're not having fun, stop it. Just
right. Yeah, do something else. Yeah.
Fucking stop making music and go home, because you're not gonna win. Because the people having fun, they're gonna win and you're gonna lose.
Mhm.
You know, there's an interesting thing about that though, right? Like,
am I wrong, Bob?
No, well, no, you're not wrong, but it's interesting. Like it's just, you're correct 100%, except that the entire process isn't always going to be fun, right? And no, I know, no, that's not what I meant either. Let me finish my thought here, because I watched an interview with David Bowie one time, and he was talking to Charlie Rose, I think, and Charlie Rose is like, you know, what, you know, do you enjoy it, you know, making music? You enjoy like making albums? He asked some silly question like that, and David Bowie was like, honestly, no. It's he's like I enjoy. He's like, I love the music. He's like, I love the creative, you know, the creating, the having created things. He said, but the process of making an album is painful and hard and difficult and makes me angry. And you know, I mean, that's not me. This David Bowie. I'm not. I actually love the process, but David Bowie was just like, you know, it's art and it's clawing, and he was pretty famously like, you know, he used to be a pain in the ass in the studio. Like he and Stevie Ray Vaughan hated each other because that was Stevie Ray Vaughan's big break, was he played on David Bowie's China Girl there, and they hated.
I have a very good friend. He is retired now, just put out his second book, Stories of Rock and Roll. I forget. He was a PR for David Bowie. His name's Tony Michaelides. He worked A&R at Island Atlantic, came from Manchester, came over here, ended up doing work for obviously David Bowie, Bob Dylan, I forget what other cats from that time.
Right. Well, that's a pretty impressive list already.
Oh no, and he is one of the people that kind of keeps cheering me on to keep on doing what I'm doing, because he's like, in all my years, and all of these rock and rollers, I haven't seen a woman, you know, a woman with a pretty face to kind of merge these things. He's like, so, you know, keep on doing your thing and don't show too much leg. So, you know, but I think if you're interested, I think it would be a cool dynamic, because he is older, but he has a young spirit, and he has like the business perspective and all of his stories, and he is a lively personality. If you're interested in bringing him on the show, he would love it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, it'd be fun.
We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. And is Bob Dylan your favorite artist, Bob, or no?
Bob Dylan is definitely one of my heroes, no doubt. I don't know about my favorite artist. I don't know that I would have one.
Named after him, Bob? No,
I am not named. I'm named after Bob. I'm named after Bob Smith, my dad.
Right. I was going to say you are Bob Smith.
Yeah, I'm
But
not
no.
a junior though. We have my father and I had different middle names. He was Robert Roy Smith. I'm Robert Patrick Smith. There you go. So
Yeah, I
Yes.
would love to
Mom's
hear
my
the
art.
conversation. Like, I want to just hear the conversation of you guys.
what, me and Kilo?
No.
No, and Tony.
Oh, and
God.
Tony, your friend. I was
Yeah,
gonna
because
say,
you
what,
have so much
Kilo and I-
information.
yeah, that would be wonderful. I'd love to. That sounds like a really good time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now let's hear more about what you want to be doing with your music. So we've heard about like you have done the DJ lifestyle. I think they've heard about that, or I know about that. Then we've heard that like you doing the sound healing thing.
Oh, me,
But-
I thought you meant Bob.
Yeah, I don't know what part did you just say that we all heard about? Because I don't think we did. Some
Okay.
J Light song. I don't know what you were talking about
I
there.
didn't say that, but
What-
okay.
what did
I'm
you
just
say?
saying I want you to tell like our audience like where you're going with your brand, like with your music. Like we've talked about music that we like and stuff, but we haven't talked about our guests very much. So
No, I love this. This is great. I love just being here with you guys.
okay.
All right. Well, here we are. That's
But I can share some of that as well.
yeah. So what you have released. So you've worked as a healer.
Yes.
And you're developing your music production system here. You get new equipment and everything, but you make your own music, right? I mean, you release music as an artist. So tell us about that.
Yes.
So it took a while to figure out how to create a prototype of integrating sound healing into a song where it would still have a commercial appeal. So I spent a while designing that, creating that, writing that, finding instrumentalists that I felt could also, when we go into the studio, do it into practice.
Right.
Not just a hired gun, play, pay you, leave. I wanted to make it an actual practice.
Right.
And I wanted to see how the difference of that. And so I guess it was kind of being a scientist. I did a lot of trial and error. I did, okay, let's do a higher gun. Let's hear this. And then let me do it this way. And let me hear a difference.
Yeah.
That is science.
Yeah. So, I mean, I never thought of myself that way,
There
but
you go.
you're right. So, now that I got done with that and I proved concept, I guess me as an artist, producer, just all around entity, I want to make music that is way more, I don't want to say vibe, just way stronger. And that's why I'm very attracted to what Kilo does, because I just want bigger sound, and I want the bigger sound to be matched up with sound healing. And I want to break this stereotype that a sound healer or a woo-woo yoga chick needs to be home all day. Because
Yeah.
it's not.
Well, no, and the cool thing.
That word. Sorry.
That's it.
Oh,
I want to get people up.
Yoga chick. I think that I think that should be a band name or something. Woo yoga chick or something. That's a
Woo yoga chick.
woo yoga chick. But but I think that I think that your point about Kilo bringing a bigger element to it, right? I think it's a really good point, because if you know Kilo as I do, right? He's very there's more to it. There's more beneath the surface, and he's got some depth to him as far as philosophy and educating and such.
Oh, thank you,
Certified life coach for one thing.
I appreciate your loving and kind words towards me.
Well, right on, buddy.
But it is true. But I will have to banter with you, Bob, about that, because half of it is me and you together. It's not just me.
Right on, man.
But what were you gonna say? I think you were gonna say the balance between the sounds is what makes the bigger sounds come out, right? Or
Are you asking me or Alexandria?
Yeah, you. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, and I was just saying that well, like you were saying, Alexandra, that you wanted to present this idea that healing music and spiritual music and whatever kind of philosophically driven music doesn't.
Enya,
Right.
we have they're like, oh,
That's
you're
great.
a sound healer, Enya. I'm like, no, when I have a bad day, I listen to Black Sabbath.
Right,
Okay,
right.
so
There you
it's like,
go.
I'm a Pink Floyd girl,
Yeah.
Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, like take me back to that era. But dance too. It's like, how do we mash up the two worlds? And I think he's the best producer to probably bring those two worlds and make it happen.
Right. Well, what I was right, and I agree. And what I was going to say is
my birthday today. You guys don't have to follow me. I'm dying tomorrow.
Right. What I was going to say is where I was going with that anyway is that the idea that you want to, you're showing that the perception isn't the rule. You know what I mean? And,
Yes.
and things can be more or less or different than you anticipate them to be, and musically too. And that's what I'm getting at. If on the surface, right, you wouldn't be able to explain really what Kilo and I even do together, right? Like what our music is or how we work, correctly. But we do. We work very, very well together.
Right.
And we make crazy awesome music. And there is and where I'm going with that is that there is depth beneath it that we intentionally, we put meaning into our music, even if we're not maybe saying words that have them. But when we're talking about these things, we're saying like, I really want this part I want them to feel sad here. I want this to really kick. I want, this is the part, or Kilo would be like, this is the part where the robot gets in the spaceship and flies to Mars. You know what I mean? That's real. That's real. That was a real conversation.
I definitely said that before.
Yes, exactly.
Don't
So,
worry.
but I mean, so the point is that, there's thought and again, intention and philosophy and like one of our songs, like it's called Zen Seeds. It's not because I think Zen is a cool word. You know what I mean? Like there's an intent behind it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think. Well, that's why, like in the beginning of the podcast, I said musicians are already there. We're already there. I think what is happening is that there's just a whole demographic of people who need things really broken down for them. And like sometimes just hearing a song is not going to be good enough for people because there is a huge layer of trust broken. And a lot of people, especially youth, are going to want to have someone explain to them why something works to build that trust back up.
Right.
True.
That's interesting. That's like sociology now you're getting into. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
That is. But this is also why I think that we, not just me, but we are something that she can use to her benefit to do those kind of things. Right?
Sure, yeah.
Do the frequent, like,
Our
audience might not know what we're talking about when we're talking about frequency healing and stuff, but like me and all of us do, like where there's certain like frequencies that if they resonate at a certain tone, even if you're not woo-woo, as she would say, or hippy-dippy, like it will make your brain do what the fuck it wants when blasted into your headphones for an hour or so, right? And so what we're talking about, all of the people listening, like we are talking about weaving those tones throughout a mix of a song and having that tone be in the mix, in the background, kind of giving that overall peaceful feeling or whatever.
Yeah, whatever the target is.
Right. So that then those lyrics that may not mean stuff to certain people, such as maybe me, like they will still get into me because my brain is like set. I might not be like identifying with what the words say, but I'll be identifying with what the fuck the frequency is telling me to feel like.
Right. But that's one layer. But then there's another layer because not with the sound practitioner, but with the stuff I do with trauma kids, like when there are certain techniques that you work with someone who has been through extreme trauma, like where they have now developed a stuttering issue or something like that. We do a combination of sound, of body, like tapping to bring equilibrium back into balance. And then we'll do different tones with words. So lyric choice is actually important if you want to get a full, like a full outcome.
Sure.
Like I know how to put words together in a way in a song for the brain to resolve a trauma.
Well, we were also, oh, sorry, Bob, go ahead.
Oh yeah, well, I was just gonna comment on a couple parts of that, because it's in addition to like the frequencies and single individual frequencies, individual notes, individual tones. In addition to that, right, your choice of scale, and this is where music theory would get into this, and it makes a massive difference, right? So like we were just talking about the I talk about this one song I wrote, Zen Seeds, a lot, because it's it's an instrumental that I wrote, and then Kilo and I finished up together. He produced it, and I released it but I don't know, a year ago, a few months ago, and it's just like one of my favorite pieces of music.
No, a year ago, not a few months ago.
About a year ago. Anyway, it's a beautiful. What's that?
Is it guitar heavy, or what type of song?
It's a piano guitar instrumental. It's just a real beautiful, real nice, mellow, kind of down tempo.
One of my favorite things I've ever made.
It's me too. It's literally one of my, anyway, my point of bringing it up yet again is the scale thing, because I wrote the song and I just kind of write, I wrote it, and then afterwards, I do this a lot. Like I'll write a chord progression and I'll go, okay, it sounds cool. What key am I playing in? Because it's not always going to just, and that's where, if you know enough theory, and I don't know a ton, I'm not, I'm no John Coltrane or something, but I mean, I know enough theory to know if, that there's a difference between, because there's a difference between modes, right? So what a mode is just like when you start, if you say a major scale, you start a major scale on a different note in that scale, and you start on that different note, that's your root now, then you're playing a mode. And right. So Zen Seeds, I found out after I wrote it, right? This is a simple little song. But then when I was figuring out because I got to figure out how to play guitar solos on it, right? So when I just figure out what solos to play, I'm like, okay, what key am I actually playing in? It's not just in D major, because there's an F in it, right? Or whatever it was.
Right.
I think that was it. And so that what I found out is that made it a D Lydian scale. And then I did some research on it, and apparently the D Lydian mode, it does exactly what Zen Seeds does. It's a soothing, it's a very sort of spiritual kind of like just a real kind of chill vibe, the Lydian mode. And
that would be like with our stuff, that would be if you have a resistance towards sensuality or sensual moments, not that it can go into sexuality if you wanted to go there, but sensual meaning like moments of feeling, actually moments of feeling and being okay in the feel.
Right.
If that's it.
Yeah.
You want to hear the song? I don't know what we're talking about. I'll play a couple seconds of it so you can see what I'm talking about with the whole scale thing.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Fucking, there's a lot more reverb on that song than you know.
There is a lot of reverb on this one because it sounds good with the reverb on this one. Oh, I gotta turn it up. All that's the talk about that little sad little melody there, that little that's what makes it Lydian, and it's just everything. Goes into some nice guitar solo later.
Yeah, that's sexy, but that's what I'm saying. Okay, there is a sex appeal in there, and on sound healer woo-woo side, what you were saying in music theory side, I would have said, okay, so D, it's associated sacral chakra. It's going to be about releasing your sensuality, your relationships to sexuality, of how you want to approach it. And then that's also what's associated to creativity. Then you go to the F, that's your heart chakra. That's about your relationship to those things. And do you want to have it for yourself, or do you want to give to another?
That's fun.
I'm not going to say what I want to say
They make music.
Just gonna keep it to myself right now and just keep my mouth shut.
What was I supposed? Was I supposed to answer that? When I was going to give something to another? I'm not going to answer those questions.
I'm not. Sorry, I was gonna say, am I supposed to keep my sexuality to myself or give it to another? That just sounds like a trap. So
I'll put it. Mine's very simple. I have my girlfriend
Someone
Sarah.
make
We're
that
very
a
much in love.
I
That's
am
my
not
sex-
answering.
Let's make that a meme. That's so good.
Can I get an all of the above, please? Sorry,
That's funny.
I made everything awkward just like I always do. It's my pleasure.
Fantastic. Should we?
You're so
Kilo?
funny, Bob. You're hilarious.
What did I do?
No, you're like, he did it again. Good job. Kilo.
Rock on, man. Rock on. But you know what? We're at the 11 o'clock hour, and I think that means we should initiate the question round.
Initiate emergency question round thing now.
Here's a really bad foghorn.
Oh yeah, right. There you go.
Emergency. Everyone must answer the questions immediately. But first, a word from our sponsor. No, a word from what we always do is we ask our guests, like, is there anything at all, anything in the world you would like to say to whoever the fuck gives a shit about these two goobers talking right now? Like anything you want to say to someone that may hear this someday, like anything, literally anything. Go ahead.
A lot of pressure.
I know. Yeah, most of the time, people. I don't know. This is always a tough question.
Let her answer it herself.
Okay. All right.
I just think that this is great. And I think the fact that we're coming together and there was no huge barrier, we just kind of trusted the process of it. And we're here and we're all shooting the shit and having actually intelligent conversation at the same time. I think that is enough. I think that's like what it should be about right now. You know?
Well said. Very nice. I like that. Rock on.
Sure. I'm glad that you
Thank
think
you.
that I said anything intelligent this entire time. I take that compliment. Thank you so much. Okay.
All right. So the
That's
question.
a pretty face.
Wait, what did you say?
I said, don't worry, you're just a pretty face.
I know. I feel like on this show. He's like, you're the young one. Just shut the fuck up and sit down and be pretty. And I'm like,
I'm just kind of hanging, man. I'm just chilling out. So
No,
let's do a question though.
okay, who wants to go first? That's
You
not
do.
her. I want to go first.
You do. Yes.
Okay, are we doing the musical question round?
It's
first?
entirely up to you, sir.
What is one of your biggest music goals that you have already seen as achievable?
I was with you until the end of the question. What do you mean?
I'm meaning not like out of the realm of your brain thinking it's possible right now, like something that is just about like pushing the limit, but something you find achievable. Music goal. Oh yeah, you have to answer first because you're the guest. Sorry.
I do?
Yeah.
Well, that's an easy one. I think that it would be really great to collaborate on a track, doing exactly what I said. I want to do a track that has integrated sound healing, but I really want to make it as if like a 17-year-old kid was listening to it. It's totally in the demographic, or let's take it one step further. Maybe because there's so many different 17-year-olds, right? I want a billboardy. I want to do a sellout track. I do.
Okay.
But I also want to like it. And I want to make it a challenge. I do.
That's a great answer. You want to sell
That
out
is.
without feeling like you sold out. That is
Yeah, right. Right
fucking
on.
greatest answer I've heard from that
It's-
question.
let's-
honestly.
Bob's words, not mine. It's science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. It's
I
like,
did-
Yeah, trial and error, sell out or don't type of thing.
I want it big. I want that bass.
all right. Rock on. So
I do that all the time.
I'm not sure I understand the question entirely, but
All of it, say like you say to all our guests, you interpret the question, sir.
there you go. You got me. All right. You say
Mhm.
what he's saying is that every time somebody asks me what I mean when I ask a question, because my questions are usually bizarre and nobody knows what the fuck I'm talking about, I just say it's open for interpretation. So there you go. Well, my biggest musical. I don't, I'm not a goal guy. I never have been. I don't make goals to be honest. In life in general. I mean, I make like short-term goals, like, hey, I'm gonna do this,
Well, the goal of like recording.
I make like short-term, like 6-month plans,
country or something. Like, it could be anything. It could be like, I hope I can write a hip hop song or whatever.
Sure, okay. Yeah, I got you. Well, I mean, I could say the biggest one that I'm still working on is piano. I mentioned before, I always wanted to be a better piano player, and I'm getting better, which is nice. And so probably that would be the next step of piano playing, which is like sight reading, and
I was gonna say, but what's the goal in the piano? Yeah. So
yeah, because I mean, I can play now, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And I know scales. I mean, I got to practice my scales for the mechanics of it. I know the notes already. I mean, I've been playing guitar for 100 years,
Yeah.
So I can play a scale or whatever I want to do on piano. It's just the mechanics of making my hands go smoother and faster. And that's basically always been the problem. And that's what I've gotten better at over the last couple of years, a lot better at. But I still could improve considerably. And I'd like to do that. And I think the next step is probably, because I can read music, because I mean, I could look at music and I know what the notes are. I know what it's saying. I can play the chord if I, look at it and go, okay, you know what I mean? But I don't sight read, and I would like to, you know what I mean? I'd like to know how to do that. And I think that tying that with piano is probably the way to do that. So there you go.
Fair enough. Great answer, Bob.
Thank you.
Now I have to answer. Correct?
Yes, you do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Still going to be the same as one other time that I answered this. I want to try to figure out how to write that one genre that we've been working on, Bob, the funk music, not funk music, which is the fucking worst way to name a genre.
Did you say bonk?
No, funk.
Okay, funk.
But is it? I thought it was PHONK.
ONK, funk.
PH. Oh, because you wrote it in an email as FONK.
I know, I was being lazy.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I do this but no, like that genre tortures my dreams because I love it so much. I almost exclusively listen to it at this point because it resonates with my inner child being that's like, do this.
It's crazy. It's kind of like if you took ambient music, mixed it with trap, and then put like sped up hip hop with like tons of reverb on top of it. It's so crazy sound.
It makes my heart feel like a little kid that, well, never mind. The thing I was going to say is inappropriate with a woman in the podcast. So next time you have chocolate, there we go. That's my,
Right.
So
yours is funk, basically. That is your answer.
That is definitely a thing that's being achieved as we speak. So I'm
right on. Right on.
Okay, now, Bobby, you get to ask a music question.
Okay. I can do that. So yeah, good. This will be very loose, but now have you? I know Kilo has. Have you performed live, or do you just work in studio stuff, Alexandria?
So I was trained as an opera singer, actually.
Wow. Hey, that's awesome.
Hold on, I don't know.
All right.
And I trained.
We gotta talk some more after this. Then, yeah, we gotta. That's awesome.
I don't know. Yeah.
No, both. When you just said that, both of us were like opera singer, and then like, well, suddenly we had a million ideas. So
I was trained classically. I sang in 5 choirs growing up.
That's fantastic.
I had a very professional childhood. It was not
DJ? No.
It was not what?
Sorry, never mind. I'm going to just shut up now. You go ahead.
No, but.
Oh, Alexandria, you just said it was not, and then
I didn't have a normal childhood. I had a professional childhood.
I understand. Right.
I left school at noon, and I had rehearsals. I was up at 4 a.m. on Saturdays. So I was a performing child, like a music child. Yeah.
Wow. Was that in New York?
In New York.
Wow. Cool. All right. I forgot what my question was. That wasn't even my question. My question. I had a question, and I wanted to make sure that you guys had both performed live before I asked the question. Now it's even better because I already knew Keela did, but I didn't know if you had. This is great. So, so the question is, and I'll answer it myself first, so you kind of know what I'm talking about. But like, what was like the most like kind of moving live experience you've had as a performer, right? And my answer is, so I had It was in 2008. My band Shoe, the hippie band that I told you about that I toured around with. Like I said, we've been playing together. We still play together. You know, the bass player and I have weekly gigs down at a hotel bar down here. So we play together all the time. Anyway, in 2008, we had this gig where we were the headliners at this, it was a NPR station up way upstate, way up in like Ticonderoga, which is, nobody knows what I'm talking about, but it's a lot further north than where I am. It's like a couple hours north of me.
My parents have a house near Hudson.
Oh, yeah, I'm very close to Hudson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about maybe an hour. Yeah, so I kind of have two
from both of those places.
Yes, you do. Yeah. I've kind of like split my time between Albany and where I am right now, my house in Queensbury. So, which is way like Lake George, that's kind of so that's where I live. Anyway, why did I? Oh yeah. So in 2008,
you want to be robbed, Bob. That's why. That's always
No. That was the thing. So 2008, this NCPR, it was a national. It was North Country Public Radio. It's an NPR station up in Ticonderoga. They had this big. They made an album. It was like showcasing musicians from upstate New York, and they've got a bunch. They went around and recorded a bunch of bands. It was cool, actually. We like met in some like place in Lake George, and we played live, and they did a really good recording, made an album of it, and then they had a concert, and we were like sort of the headliners of both the album and the concert. So and it turned out a lot bigger than I expected. So we get there and there's like a couple thousand people there. I was like, holy shit, we're like at a farm in like middle of nowhere, upstate New York, and there's like 2,000 people there waiting to hear a bunch of hippies play music. So it was great. And we did the gig, and at the end of it, so there were like 6 other acts through the day, and at the end of it, we were the headliners and we were done. And then we're like, okay. And then we thanked everybody, and I said, I was like, we're going to bring everybody up. So just all the other musicians like came up, and it was it was NPR, so it's like, it was like, there was like a bluegrass band, and there was like an Irish band, and it wasn't just a bunch of rock.
That vibe.
Yeah. So like we get up, and it's like my band, which is a 5-piece, basically 2 guitars, bass, drums, and then a guy that plays sax and keyboards. He kind of switched between the two, and we do like ska and jazzy, funky stuff. So anyway, that's that band. And then with us was a steel drum, a violin, a banjo. I think, oh Jesus, there was all kinds of crazy stuff. It was just this orchestra of like woodsy hippies, and we did I Shall Be Released by Bob Dylan, which is one of my favorite songs.
Oh, nice.
And I could barely sing because I was like, it's just in tears the whole time. It was just so moving. It was I have a recording of it too. I'll play it. I played enough today, but I do have a recording of it. So that's my answer. It was great.
Okay. So
Asgard Farm 2008. That's where I was.
That's awesome.
Upstate New York is really good. It like is the mothership of that kind of vibe.
Yeah. It's wonderful. I mean, I live here for a reason. I love it.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. So, Alexandra, what was your most moving live experience as a performer?
I feel like I talk too much.
You're the guest.
You're the
I get shy.
I had a guest say that, but that's good. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Well, that's such a good story. And I get that vibe. I miss that kind of camaraderie so much with all different musicians and the appreciation of musicians.
Yeah, that
I miss more than anything.
We hear that a lot on the show, don't we, Bob? Like that musicians feel like it's become a culture of do-it-yourself-ness, which neither me nor Bob have to put up with that.
No,
well, we've had each other.
I think about that a lot. I think about that a lot too, and not with my friendship with Kilo, but also like I said, I play regularly in my hometown here because my best friend here is my friend Todd, who plays bass. I mean, I've known him since I was 5 years old. You know what I mean? And we've played in every band together, and he's my best friend. He's like my brother, and I get to play with him all the time. And so, awesome. Yeah. So whenever I hear I say that to Kilo's point, whenever we hear people say like that they miss that sort of connection with other musicians, and everything, I'm always surprised and want
it makes me dismayed if I know what that word means, because it's like We need to make this a fucking culture of togetherness.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Rock
That's
on.
what made music appealing, I think, to me as a fucked up teenager with a mohawk that my parents forcefully cut off because I did something wrong. Like, you know, like the togetherness. You go to the garage with your friends and you
Mhm.
make mean sounding shit for an hour and then you feel better, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that you can't do that alone if you're being mad by yourself. Doesn't make anything better, you know. So I think well, you cannot deflect from this question, madam. What
Oh,
was moving like live performance that
Yes,
you
your
had?
most moving live moment live performance.
so grew up, I said classically trained, and I grew up gospel. So gospel and classical. I sang gospel and Lower East Side. It was not an overly religious, it's like an activist artist church in the Lower East Side, you know.
Mhm.
So
Like
you know, they talk
Unitarian.
about Kuan Yin and Buddha. It's like very
So, but it's like a Unitarian church then.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's
and it's when I wrote my first song. I had to be like 7, 8 years old, and the music director helped me because I didn't know how to arrange or anything. I just wrote the song and I sang it to him and I said, I really want to sing it with the choir. And so he
Oh,
put
that's fucking bad.
harmonies, and I got to sing it in church, and I had the big choir behind me. And that was when I was like, holy shit, I could do this.
Mhm.
Like I could do this, and I could do this however I want. And
That's a pretty amazing feeling.
yeah,
To realize to just in
As
any
a kid.
capacity in your life where you get to the point where you go like, hey, I do cool stuff. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing this.
but
you
it
know?
took him,
It's
it took
amazing.
the music conductor to believe in. I mean, he didn't talk down to me. He was like, yeah, let's just do this. Boom, boom, boom. It was like how I said it. It was effortless. There was no
Right.
ego. There was no competition. It was like, let's just make this happen.
Right.
on.
Right.
On.
Yeah.
And that whole process was just so beautiful. And then as I grow up, it unfortunately slow climb changed. You know?
I mean, you did a work with people who throw things at your face. That's not the right vibe.
Right. Well, that's why I'm here too, you know?
I know, and I was
To
gonna
not
say,
have things thrown in your face.
it's like if you're on Zoom, you can't throw
I
shit.
don't know
at
what we're talking. I don't know what we're even
No,
talking about.
it's-
Throwing things in faces. I don't know what this is
I
about.
didn't throw anything at her. Don't worry. But
Well, you are 3,000 miles away. That would be quite an
I threw
accomplishment if
really
you had
far,
thrown
bro. I threw real far, but
But it's similar to Bob's because it's that it's the moment of feeling complete
Yeah.
as one with all these people.
something.
right.
That feeling is the best. It's just
Yes.
woo.
It's exactly
I
right.
will
Well, it's,
dumb down our answers real quick. Don't worry, I got you. Now
What's
I have to pick a different answer, but
I think you've already answered, Kilo.
No.
Really?
no, I have not.
No,
I'll
all
take
right.
that. That's fine. I've answered.
No, you can
No,
go
what
ahead.
is-
But
I want to know.
you didn't. You're right. You didn't answer because you weren't talking about a live performance. But I'm just saying you give a really good input there when you were talking about jamming in the basement with your friends. That's all I was saying.
Oh,
But
that
anyway,
was.
But go on. But that
Yeah.
wasn't your answer. Go ahead.
But what I want to say is I hope that hopefully me and Bob can kind of help bring that element back to you and your creativeness where it's like you have people who give a shit. I saw that I tagged you in it on Instagram this morning where the guy said like work with people who
Oh yeah.
want the best for you, not the most from you or something like that.
Oh,
And I'm
nice. I
like,
like
shit, that
Yeah.
shit
That's
goes
awesome.
hard, baby. Like
Yeah,
that's
that's good stuff.
completely what me and her had talked about yesterday about just like, you know, I care more about like we just were signing Bahunka and like knowing that dude, I've known him for fucking forever and is so talented and he had no one to believe in him. It's a crushing feeling to me because I thought he knew how fucking talented he was.
Deeply talented guy. I mean, can do real. I mean, like name something creative and he does it really well.
That's also
You know?
the gift of a producer, right? Like, isn't that part of a producer to see what the artist can't see?
Exactly. So that's
Or
that's
just
right.
a
So
good
that's
mirror, like I told you,
Right.
like to show them what they really are. I'm
Yeah.
not telling you what to be. I'm just showing you what your
Yeah.
potential is. I'm hoping we can all blossom you into that where you don't feel like whatever you felt with things thrown at you, but like the
Thank
feeling of like the choir conductor man thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll
Church
tell you,
and
like,
stuff. Church
What
and
about your
someone-
performance?
Well, I have changed my answer now. So, it was gonna go south real quick, so I'm not doing that. It was gonna go like people with, yeah, and
Choose
anyway,
love.
but definitely lots of people having love in a room together.
Jesus Christ.
Definitely that.
So you played an orgy one time, did you? Is that what you're trying to say?
It was more of what the movement after the show that I'm not.
Definitely
All
April
right.
shock.
No,
gotcha.
I was not in that said room. I
Okay.
was in the adjacent room that had the person run to it going, I gotta go pee, but that's just a completely different story. So now I will change the subject. Mine will have to be, my first DJ performance was actually like at a festival, and I was like right before the headliner on the second night. And it was moving for me because of the response from the people I've been hanging out with for a day and a half, seeing this crippled dude that they were just like chilling with by a fire. Now it's on stage doing what they wanted to watch. And they're like, what the fuck happened? But like after was the most interesting thing to me, because afterwards, like I did like this motivational poem at the end of my set and like turn the lights down low and like all this stuff. And so when I get off the stage, this guy who I had, hold on, I'm gonna burp for some reason. No, I'm not. This guy that I had been.
I thought you were gonna cry and you were gonna burp.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I've been drinking a lot of water this whole time.
That's
It's
wicked.
not-
I got
God,
it out. It
that is
happened.
comedy gold right there, buddy. That was wonderful. All right.
I'm
And
sorry.
you're like, are you
No,
giving
look,
a
I'm not
motivational
crying
poem?
over here at all.
And it was
I agree.
it was a moment. And
I'm so
hold
sorry.
on.
I'm trying not to, like. I'm sorry, man. Okay, so I get off the stage, right? And this guy that I had seen and actually like high-fived like off the stage, which for me was a bit of a stretch without bumping the fucking turntables. But whatever, he came over to me after the show and like knelt down beside me out of respect that I'm crippled, which I appreciated. And he's like,
you're also a good DJ.
Yeah.
no, but
Yeah.
the ground part, he didn't just talk to me like a normal person,
Right.
like dick to mouth level, like he knelt down. So it was like eye to eye level. And I was like,
Right.
so, but he like told me like he was an ex-veteran and like life had been hard for him. And like seeing my set motivated him to get his head out of his ass. He didn't say it exactly like that, but he was like, if you can DJ, I can do whatever the fuck I want. And he was like bawling, crying. And I was just like, it's okay, man. Like, it's okay. You know, and it was moving in the way you guys were talking about moving, to have someone like
that is awesome. That's a great
see
answer.
someone
That's
throw
amazing.
down fucking trap and dubstep for an hour and then they're crying. You clearly did something right.
You did something right. Exactly.
Like it was me
Nominated.
myself being me that made him cry, not the music choice, but the fact that I'm the one making him have a good time. So I was like,
That's
hey,
awesome.
I like this. So there you go.
Good.
There's my non-sexualified answer. Good job.
Hey, Flex is making an appearance. I don't think he's never been on camera before.
This is my puppy.
That's Flex. I only see him in pictures and like
Like my
text
best
and stuff.
buddy.
He never shows up on camera.
Aww.
Oh, and as for anyone who knows where my brand came from, Kilo is now dead. But we won't go.
No, yeah, no, Alex doesn't
Oh,
know.
funny.
She
No.
knows.
Oh, he just
Oh, she does
dropped
know.
it.
Okay. All right.
She knows.
Well,
about
okay.
this.
It's time to move on to question number 2.
She has to ask her question. Oh wait, no, yeah, she has
Can I
to
ask
ask
the
her
question?
question.
Oh, yes. You have to ask a music.
I'm gonna be a little basic, but I think it's important. What was the first either song, album, musician?
Oh
What
no,
was the
not
first
this
one?
question again.
No, I know, but but it's different. When I want it to, because you consider yourself a producer, Kilo, and then Bob, would you say you're not just, but multi-instrumental songwriter? Like, what would you say is your first title? Like, I would say my first title was a singer.
Is that
Right.
the question?
No, I understand
That's
what you're
part
saying.
one. Part two is what was the thing that made you say that you were going to step into that role?
Oh, that's not my only role now.
Okay.
I feel dipped.
No,
Okay.
I know, but your first role.
All right. So I'll answer because you asked me specifically what I would say my role is.
How about the question be what is your role you consider yourself, and then what made you do that?
Yes, there's a point. There's an A.
Yeah, I got
There we
it.
go.
Yeah,
There we go.
that is the question I was about to answer.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
anyway.
Okay,
I think that's.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I being that I'm a writer, so I write crap all the time, and I'm often writing who people are every day. I write what people are and what they are as artists and musicians and everything, and what I am, right? So you write your own bio and all that crap.
Right.
And so I have asked myself that exact question because I do a lot of different things. So I just say I'm a musician. I'm a musician. I would say probably, if somebody were to say, what instrument do you play? I always say, I primarily play guitar. I mean, because guitar is the one I'm good at. And, and I can play others pretty well too. You know what I mean? I keyboard, piano and bass. And, I got a mandolin over there, and I got a bunch of things. I got a lap steel over there. So, I mean, I mess around with a lot of instruments, but basically I just say I'm a musician. Or songwriter, sure, but it just depends on the day. It depends on the song. Really, that's really the answer. It depends on the song. And sometimes I'm just a hired gun guitar player,
Right.
And sometimes I'm the whole thing. So
what is one of the albums that made you want to be that?
The album that made me want,
or the point, or like the point, like was it a song? Like, I want to know what was the point where you were like, no, I'm going to do this. Kind of like the story that I told.
Right. Well, I was, I was a pretty strange kid. I'm pretty strange growing up. And I was, I was very nerdy and kind of just awkward socially, and still am, both of those things. And music just was obvious. I guess. I was first into. I didn't really start playing until I was like 15, which was late for my friends. I mean, all my friends were musicians, so I didn't start playing. I was like 15 or 16. 16. I was when I got my guitar. But I was always making stuff. I was a computer guy, a computer kid, and I was wiring. And this is in the 80s. I was wiring everything up together, and I was always kind of making sound even before I could play. Like I recorded before I could play guitar. You know what I mean? I had this crazy contraption where I was like, I had 2 tape decks and a mixer, and because I didn't have a 4-track yet. So I was doing overdubs by basically you just kind of, you put one tape through the mixer, like it's another 2 tracks on the mixer, and then you put a microphone in and you record another track. Then you flip the tape, put it over again, you just over and over and over again. So like, it was not, my point is that it was never a choice. I didn't pick anything.
It wasn't like a key point.
No, I just knew I needed to make stuff. I always made stuff, and I just had to keep making stuff. And then when I was like 15, I asked my dad to buy me a guitar, and he did. And then I just started making songs, So it just is who I am. It's just what I do.
Maybe Kilo's question, what's the first album?
Like what album made you want to like? That's not my question, dear. That's your question.
I could tell you the first time I heard Jimi Hendrix, that was a moment.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So I had an A, B, and C to my question. Sorry.
Better answer, Bobby.
Yeah. First time I heard Jimi Hendrix, because if you don't know Alexandria, Hendrix, I'm a big, huge Hendrix fan.
I'm a huge.
Yeah, Jimmy's my man. Jimmy is my man. And and I play. If you listen to my playing, I do a lot of Jimmy style stuff. I mean, I get a little jazzier these days, but
that's great to know.
Yeah, it's based on Jimmy.
Absolutely wonderful.
Well, cool. So anyway, so the first time I heard Jimmy, I was probably about 10 years old, and I was in I was at my friend Danny Hubert's house, and we were down in his brother's bedroom. His brother was my sister's age. They're 5 years older than us, so we were like 10 and he was like 15, and we were going down and like sneaking his records, listening to his records when he wasn't around, and my friend Danny put on Are You Experienced, by Jimi Hendrix. Is the backward track and everything, the whack, 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 and I was just like, this is freaking outer space music. I was like, this is the craziest shit I've ever heard. What's going on, I really was blown away. And there are a couple of moments, artists that have done that for me. Hendrix, that was one. The first time I heard Nirvana, I was working at a record store. It was the day the day that Nevermind came out. The day before, we shut the store and we played the tape for the in-store play for the next day. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, what is this? And I was banging, I was like, moshing around the store. It's crazy. I was like 21 and it was just the mind-blowing stuff, So yeah, there are a couple of things that have really, hit me and made like, I got to make more things.
Yes.
That's that. So anyway, there you go. I don't even know what question I answered anymore, but
Well, you answered
I didn't expect you to say that.
to say what?
I
Jimi
told
Hendrix.
you it was awesome.
Hendrix. Oh my
I
God.
told
Yeah. Hendrix
you
is everything.
all this
I love
fucking
Jim.
God mode shit. Okay,
Yeah.
so I get to answer and be once again the dampener of the vibey mood, the idiot in the room. I identify as the lovable idiot, so that's my job in music, is being the big goober that does stupid shit that makes stuff sound good. So
Right.
that's my job. And so the first time I realized I wanted to do that was the first time I heard Anima of the State by
Oh,
Blink-182.
Yeah,
And
Blink,
then
there
my
you go.
whole world changed immediately.
That's awesome.
Instantaneously, I remember sitting in this white Chrysler minivan in my parents' front yard, put it in, and didn't know it had all the cuss words, but I was by myself, so it didn't matter. And just hearing people not, when you grow up like different, you take things too fucking serious, dude. That's why I don't usually hang out with handy, capable, or whatever you want to fucking call it, because she doesn't like my word for it. So I didn't say it. But when you know you're different and you're like, yeah, blah. And then you have like Dennis Rodman is the only other person that is definitely different and he's okay. But like then hearing them be idiots on purpose.
You're right.
My whole world go, I can just be a fucking moron and be okay with that. And then you guys both, I mean, Bob knows me more than you, but like you both know me and I'm just all about that fucking experience.
Right
and
on, man.
So, like, then my friend Joel, who does like some of our videos and is someone I grew up with and been on the podcast, he got a drum set. And then I was like, I could do that because I was an idiot and didn't know that you need your legs for this. So then I to make my legs work because I wanted to play the drums. And then just going from there, I've always kept that whole like childlike awe about music. So that's why like with Bob's music,
I just want to point out, by the way, you just kind of skimmed over the most important and most insane part of your story, which is I made my legs work because I wanted to play
exactly.
just,
I mean, hey guys.
That's all. I just figured, they got to start working now. So
to me, I experienced it. Like I've had to say to both of you many times, like it's my life. So to me, it's mundane. It happened. Cool.
That's right. Yeah, that is an astute observation, and that you're right. And
some people might say that's a miracle.
Okay.
It's an outlier. It's exceptional. Those words.
Whatever. Yeah.
Outliers, what we do around here. We are outliers.
I think being a lovable idiot is like my thing that I want to do because like that's how come I can make Bob listen to his own song with much reverb on air to get a certain point across.
It sounded beautiful, but you knew that I was going to say it had too much reverb. I mean, you just know you knew exactly what I was expecting it to sound like. You knew exactly what my reaction.
Idiot, okay. So yeah, that's my answer. That album changed my entire way of being and my whole worldview. And now that Blink-182, the real Blink-182 is back, now I can live and die happy again. So there's that.
Let's go to a show.
But it's like $1,000 for a shit ticket. I've already looked. It's ridiculous.
Let's just cover one of their songs and put it out and tag them everywhere.
Kilo had that idea, actually.
I already had that.
I'm down. I'm ready.
So smart.
All right, let's do it.
So smart.
Dirt and twat. I know all the words.
It's so
I'm
good.
gonna fuck your mom and I'll fuck her too.
Got it. See, now you see.
We can even make it into a classic. We can make it into a jazz.
There you go.
I'm down.
Okay, so Alexandria, I believe you still have to answer your own question.
Yes.
I'll make it super simple. The story that I said before, But then I'm gonna add on like what you said, Jimi Hendrix. I listened to Whitney Houston, Bodyguard, and then Janis Joplin's like greatest hits, like back to back. And I laid in my room and I was like, oh.
Well,
And
there
then
you
I was
go.
like, I'm gonna do it.
Well,
right.
those are two good places to start right there. Whitney and Janice. That's awesome.
Okay.
All right.
Time.
Now we ask the dumbass question, right?
Oh, we have another round.
Dumbassery time. Yeah,
I guess so. I mean, it's getting, we're at an hour and a half right now. Do we want to do the second question?
We'll do lightning round.
Lightning round.
Lightning.
Okay. Lightning round.
Round of dumbassery questions.
You gotta think.
All right. Yeah. So each of us think of a
I got
a
a
real
really
quick
bad
lightning
one.
round question.
You
All right.
have a bad one? Is that what you just said down there?
Yeah.
Or you go ahead. Go for
Yeah,
it.
go ahead.
When you perform, do you go commando or do you have a lucky pair of underwear to wear?
Oh, that's not a horrible question.
No, it's but there's only two choices though, and my answer would be neither of those things. I'm not going to go commando, and I'm not particular to any pair of underwear. Although
Well,
I am very particular about socks. So there you go.
Okay.
I'm very
That's
particular
your
about socks.
answer, Bob. So Bob says, "Fuck the underwear. I'm all about the socks."
I didn't say
I
fuck the underwear. That's not what I said.
I was inspired by Blink-182.
Yes, you did say that, Bob. I heard you.
Okay,
My
all right, yeah,
answer-
whatever. Fuck
My
the underwear.
answer is fuck the shirt, no matter what. So, like, I don't care. That festival I talked about was like outside in the fucking winter in Colorado. Nope, I did not have a shirt on. I had a jacket on, not a shirt.
All
Fuck the shirt. So there's my version of the answer. What about you? Do you have lucky underwear?
Was that how was that?
You
an
have
answer
to
the
match
question?
your underwear to the band that you're going to go see. It's an
Oh, that's
you
a
meant
very,
So,
very female answer right there. That was
all
underwear
the,
has
all
to
the women
match
out
the
there.
band.
Although all the people who identify as feminine are going to agree with me.
There you go. I agree. Yes, yeah, they will. So it's exactly what I was saying. That was a very feminine answer to that question. That's for
Yes.
sure.
that is
All
definitely
right.
a good answer.
Well, that was a
Okay,
good question too. So
It was a
next,
good question.
now your lightning round question, Kilo, because I don't
Me?
have one.
Why me again?
Because I don't have one. Because
How dare you? Okay. If you could be any superhero in any comic book series ever, who would you be and why? You got to give both answers. Go ahead, guest of ours.
any super.
Okay, it's not feminist at all. But I would be Iron Man because I really want to play with all of his technology.
Yeah.
She just wants lots of money. That's
Yeah, I was going to say he's also rich as hell. So there you go.
Yeah, but I just want to play with all that technology. I
Iron
want
Man
to
is
wear
a
this suit. I wanna-
fantastic answer.
Yeah.
Iron Man's a great answer.
Yeah.
That is the correct. That is, I would say that is one of the correct answers,
Thank you.
because
Thank you.
the other correct answer is
Oh.
mine, which is Batman.
Oh,
You
Batman.
guys want money overall.
Batman.
No, not because he's rich. No, because he's fucking Batman. And because if you can be anyone, be Batman. Batman is a genius. He's a freaking ninja and a billionaire. And he's got all the ladies, and he doesn't give a shit about them. And he's rocking over. He's the badass, man. He's a badass. Batman.
The bat ass.
I mean,
Ow.
seriously, ninja, genius, crime
And he
fighter,
wears his underwear
billionaire.
on the outside. What's up now, bitches? Yeah.
All right, so there you go. That's my answer.
Okay, my answer would be and is Deadpool, because I just want to cut my own head off and then show it to someone.
You sort of are Deadpool. I mean, you're very Deadpool already.
100%.
Fair enough. I take that and
100%.
I say maybe I am, but I'll never tell you.
Yeah, yeah, you're very Deadpoolish.
You
And
are.
I mean that as a compliment.
That's probably the best compliment you've ever given me. Now you
Absolutely.
have to answer or ask a question.
I have
now.
to ask a question. That's right. That's right. I do have to ask a question. And my
Oh, and
question.
our new song came out last night, so just wanted to point that out. That
Oh, yeah.
we forgot to say on
Yes.
here.
All
This
day and all night.
This
Yeah.
wonderful lady listened to my new wonderful song with me last night when it premiered on our YouTube and was shocked and dismayed at the person that she just spent a bunch of time with. because the song is literally called All Day and All Night.
Dude,
Fuck
it's
Off.
the craziest thing. And if I was going to introduce, hi, I'm Kilo. I'm a musician. Want to see some of my music? And then the craziest shit you've ever done.
I felt like it was karma from
I
you.
love it though. I love it.
It's fit. No, trust me. I'm not dissing it. I love it. It's fantastic. It's
I
so much
truly-
fun.
That's a whole nother episode. Talk about what that can do for people in healing world. Like,
Oh my God. I just watched that video and freaking smile and laugh for 4 minutes straight. I mean, it's just fucking awesome. It's hilarious.
Because
And if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about,
Yeah.
Kilo's new song. Well, it's Kilo and I together. I'm on little bits and pieces of that, but
you don't want
it's
to take credit for it. I understand.
no, I love it. It's just that I'm not going to I'm going to steal your thunder. I mean, it's your vision, but it's
Thanks, Bob, for throwing me under the bus.
I think it's awesome. I think it's freaking. I'm complimenting the hell out of it. I think it's fantastic. Anyway, it's called All Day and All Night. Fuck on Bass, and it's on our YouTube channel. You could go to anything, go to our socials and stuff. I still have to update the website. I'm going to do that tonight before
I just wanted to say I felt like truthfully it was the universe's karma saying if you want to be this big of a dumbass, you're going to have a wonderful young lady waiting awake with you to have it come out. And I was so excited. Yes,
That's awesome.
until the moment I realized what song it was, and I was, oh yay!
Oh yeah, this thing.
This just happened. So it felt like the universe was like, "Got
It's
you,
freaking-
bro, fuck off."
Oh,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. It's hilarious.
It's hilarious. So
Yeah.
okay, Bob, your question though, right?
Oh yeah, my question. Okay, this is the random question, not a music question, right? All right. I had one a minute ago when we started talking.
I ruined it again.
I have to know, are you eating lozenges or
Oh
candy?
no. Okay. Here you go. This will lead us into a question. You're that
Because I really want one and I don't know what it is.
no. Okay.
not?
So there you go. You just gave me my question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
What I'm eating is pistachios.
If you can put anything in your mouth right now, what would it be? Is that the
No,
question?
definitely not going to ask that question to anyone ever.
No,
Never would I ask that question. So no.
Next time
We'll have
on
to
the
get
host
your girlfriend on here so that she knows everything's kosher.
Oh, she would
She's not
never.
gonna.
She would never do this.
She
No,
knows
Sarah
me,
would never do this.
Girlfriend, all respect.
She knows that
Oh,
I'm,
no, she doesn't. It's all
I'm
good.
the lovable idiot in the room. We've already established.
Right. Anyway, my question, right, and because you asked about the pistachios, the reason I eat pistachios all the time is because I'm an obsessive compulsive lunatic, and I have to do something obsessively all the time. So it used to be things that were bad for me. I used to drink and smoke and everything. I don't do any of that anymore. So now I eat pistachios constantly, and I eat vegan candy bars, and and that's what I do. So.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yes. So, and the point of that, and I guess what I'll lead to is that,
What
Keela
do
and I
you-
had a big long conversation. We have talked about this kind of crap a lot, but so, I got issues, right? I got some compulsive issues and anxiety issues and other things, but over the years, I have developed a million coping and healing mechanisms that have worked very well for me. And I'm a very happy, well-adjusted old man.
That's awesome.
And because of it. And so for instance, like that, right? Pistachios are not going to kill me. So
Right.
instead of drinking a couple bottles of wine while I sit here and talk to you, I eat a bowl of pistachios. And
Okay.
I walk away without
Question.
falling down. So
And
there you go.
Thank you for sharing that. For sure.
What's the
Oh,
question?
no
though?
So the question is, do you have what is an example of your own self-taught coping mechanisms? And just kind of maybe a life hack. It doesn't have to be
Life hack.
psychological damage like mine, but just something that you've taught yourself that helps you have a better life. Simple. It could be a little thing.
You're the guest. You must.
Yes.
Um,
Alexandra first.
I'm going to do a weird one. I'll draw like stick figures on a whiteboard or something, and I'll make it kind of like the negative version of me,
Mhm.
and I'll like pull it out of me and I'll make it into the stick figure, and I'll
Oh,
look at
wow.
it, and then I'll like have it tell me something, and I'll
Like a
put that
reverse
up.
voodoo doll.
Yeah, yes.
Like
I don't know what that is, but it's something about like drawing it and then seeing it, it reminds me.
I like that. That's cool. It's sort of like talking to yourself in the mirror, but
Yeah.
instead making it a separate entity and talking to that's cool.
Mhm.
Good answer. Right on.
Thank you.
Kilo?
Yours too. Yours too.
Well, thank you.
I think my answer, possibly through a brief conversation I had with her earlier today, where we talked about how dark my music seems and how non-dark I am. Possibly, I have come to the conclusion that all that darkness within me I put into music as my coping mechanism that makes me no longer dark, because I'm a bubble of rays of sunshine and a lot of fuck words.
Yes, you are. Yes,
So,
you're exactly that.
possibly my dark, like I think my coping mechanism is I put all the darkness on everybody else by making their ears hear it, and then like
Well, the crazy thing though about your music is that it doesn't make people sad. It makes them happy. Your music is fun as shit. It's a blast.
And that's
dark, I get. I don't know. Maybe that's not a good answer then.
No, but you're right though, because the music is dark. I mean, your music is dark, but but for some reason it's fun to listen to. Like, remember we had Katya on here, and who is a jazz singer from Austria, and you're not Kilo's typical fan, right? Mm-hmm. But when we talked about his music, she says, "I love your music. It's fun." Yeah. It's like, because it is.
And I feel the same, because I didn't walk away feeling traumatized by your music. I have gone to a spot in Brooklyn before. I'm not joking. I came out and I called it, at the time I called it B-bonk, because it was like bonking my freaking third eye. I came out and I started crying. If I felt traumatized by what I heard, I don't feel like that with your music. And that maybe it's intention, maybe it's like
I don't actually do that. I thought maybe I did, but see, I agree it's fun, but I thought maybe because I'm the darkness, it's fun to me to listen to my own darkness, but maybe not.
I don't think anybody could watch that all day and all night video, and if they don't have fun watching that, they're dead. They're just simply not alive.
Okay, I'll say I drink a lot of caffeine. I don't know why I do that, but no, legitimately, that would be, if there is any coping mechanism that I have, because it's something I refuse to live without, and partially why I've never ended up in jail, because they don't give you energy drinks in jail, I don't think. That is a huge reason I've always
of all the things about jail, that's the reason I'm not going.
I won't have
energy drinks.
I won't have nicotine and caffeine in my brain. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to be away from caffeine.
I agree with that 100%, by the way. The only reason that wasn't my answer is because I just think that's obvious. I mean, if you're not sucking down caffeine all day, then I don't even understand who you are.
Exactly. So this is about the end of our show, everyone. Yes. But I hope to see you on our show more often. You have surprisingly took the role of the interviewer most of the time here, which made it much more entertaining, because it wasn't us trying to rip things out of someone. It was like you helped us. So thank you for being on our show and listening to us be idiots for an hour and 45 minutes.
There you go. Yes. And
it was a pleasure.
It was very nice to meet you, Alexandria. And I'm actually, I think that we'll be making some music together. What do you think?
I think so.
Awesome.
So. I think
awesome. I'm looking forward to
it. A wonderful triforce.
Right on, man. Right on.
Triforce.
All right, kids. I'm going to hang up now.
Goodbye, buddy.
Adios, everybody.